Dark clouds covered the sky. The wind blew hard across the small village. People hurried to decorate the village square. There was no joy, only duty. Inside a small hut, Amina sat quietly. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not make a sound. Women dressed her in a beautiful red cloth. They placed heavy gold jewelry on her neck and arms. She looked like a bride, but her heart was broken. Amina was only 16. She dreamed of going to school, but today she was being forced to marry a man old enough to be her grandfather. Her hands shook as the women tied her scarf. Her mother stood in the corner, wiping her tears with her scarf. No one dared to speak. No one dared to stop it. Outside, the village drummers started beating their drums. The old man, Chief Bako, waited with a proud smile. He had bought Amina with bags of money. The villagers watched but stayed silent. They feared Chief Bako. They feared what he could do if anyone refused him. As Amina stepped outside, her legs felt heavy. The whole world seemed to spin. But deep inside her heart, a small voice whispered, "Hold on. Something is coming. Something that will change everything." The drums grew louder. The sky grew darker. And in that moment, fate prepared to strike. Amina was the youngest daughter in her family. She lived in a small mud house at the edge of the village. Her clothes were old and torn, but her smile could light up the darkest day. She loved to help her mother cook. She loved to sit under the big mango tree and dream about her future. Amina wanted to become a nurse one day. She wanted to heal sick children and help old people walk again. Every day after her chores, she would run to the school fence. She would watch other children study through the open windows. Her heart would ache with longing. But Amina's family could not afford school fees. They could barely afford food. Her father was once a strong farmer, but sickness had weakened him. He coughed day and night and could no longer work in the fields. Her mother tried to sell vegetables in the market, but it was never enough. The house was often empty. The pots were often dry. Sometimes they slept with nothing in their stomachs. One evening, after a long talk with the village elders, her father came home with tears in his eyes. He told Amina she would marry Chief Bako. He said it was the only way to save their family. Amina begged him. She cried and held his legs, but he did not listen. He turned his face away and left her crying on the floor. From that day, Amina's dreams turned into dust. She knew her life was no longer her own. She was being sold like a cow at the market. But deep inside her heart, a small light refused to die. Amina promised herself, "One day I will be free. One day I will change my story." Chief Bako was the richest man in the village. He owned the biggest house with tall fences and iron gates. He had many farms, many cattle, and many workers. People feared him more than they respected him. Chief Bako was old. His face was full of wrinkles. His teeth were yellow from chewing tobacco. His hands were rough, and his voice was deep and harsh. When he walked through the market, everyone moved out of his way. No one dared to look into his eyes. He already had 3 young wives. Each one was taken from her family with promises of money and gifts. But the village women whispered that his wives were not happy. They said Chief Bako treated them like servants. They said he locked them in rooms when they disobeyed him. Chief Bako loved to show off his power. He believed everything could be bought, even people's lives. When he saw Amina in the market one day, he decided he must have her. She was young, beautiful, and full of life. She would be another prize for his collection. He sent his messengers to Amina's father with heavy bags of money. He promised to take care of the whole family. He promised to feed them, to heal the sick father, and to buy new clothes for everyone. Desperate and tired, her father agreed. Chief Bako smiled to himself. He believed he had won again. Another young flower would be trapped behind his cold walls. He thought Amina would be too weak to fight him. But what Chief Bako did not know was that this young girl was different. Very different, and soon his world would fall apart in a way he never imagined. The wedding day arrived too soon. The village was busy and loud. Drums beat fast, women danced with heavy steps. Children ran around, laughing without knowing the sadness behind the day. Amina sat inside her hut, silent like a stone. Her heart was heavy. Her hands were cold. She wore a bright red cloth, but she felt no joy. Her face looked like a beautiful mask hiding a broken soul. The women pulled her outside. The sun was burning hot. The whole village had gathered. They cheered and clapped as she walked slowly toward the chief's house. Each step felt like walking deeper into a dark hole. Chief Bako stood under a big tree, smiling proudly. His white robe danced in the wind. He looked at Amina like she was a new treasure he had just bought. The village elders sat around him, nodding their heads. They were ready to bless the marriage. Amina's father stood nearby, avoiding her eyes. Her mother cried quietly, hiding her face in her scarf. Nobody spoke for her. Nobody stopped the ceremony. The elder raised his hand to start the marriage rites. The drums stopped. The village grew silent. The elder asked Amina to accept Chief Bako as her husband. Amina's lips trembled. Her throat was dry. The whole world seemed to be waiting. She looked at her father one last time. He turned away. She looked at her mother. She was sobbing. Amina closed her eyes. Her heart screamed inside her chest. But just when she thought she had no choice, something happened. Something that would shock the whole village. Something that would change her life forever. The wedding was done. The village people ate and danced late into the night. But Amina felt empty inside. Her smile was forced. Her eyes were dry, but her heart kept crying. When the crowd left, Amina was led to Chief Bako's big house. The door closed behind her with a loud sound. It felt like a prison. The room was dark and cold. Only a small oil lamp gave a weak light. Amina sat on the bed, scared and alone. Her hands shook. Her chest felt tight. She knew Chief Bako would come soon. The door creaked open. Chief Bako entered, walking slowly toward her. He smelled of tobacco and old sweat. He smiled with yellow teeth. Amina felt sick. He sat beside her and touched her hand roughly. Tears filled her eyes, but she stayed still. She had no strength left to fight. Suddenly Chief Bako began to cough. At first it was small, then it grew louder and louder. He grabbed his chest and fell to the ground, gasping for air. Amina stood frozen. She didn't know what to do. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His face turned red, then dark. He struggled like a fish out of water. Minutes passed, then silence. Chief Bako lay still on the floor. The great, proud man was gone. Just like that. Amina covered her mouth with both hands. Her heart pounded like a drum. Was it real? Was it a dream? She stepped closer, her legs shaking. Chief Bako was not breathing. He was dead. Everything changed in one moment. The powerful man who had bought her was now lifeless. Amina's fate had taken a shocking turn. But what would happen now? Would the village blame her? Would she be free? Or would her nightmare grow even darker? The next morning, the village was full of whispers. News spread fast. Chief Bako was dead. Everyone was shocked. Some said it was witchcraft. Others said it was a curse. The elders came to the big house. They found Amina sitting alone in the corner. Her red wedding cloth was still on her. Her face was pale. Her hands were cold. The elders asked her what happened. Amina told them about the coughing. She said she didn't touch him. She said she only watched him fall. They searched Chief Bako's room. There, hidden under his bed, they found a small black bottle. It smelled bitter and strong. One elder, who knew about herbs, opened it carefully. His eyes grew wide with fear. It was poison. Deadly poison. But there was more. In a secret box under the floor, they found old letters. The letters spoke of terrible things. Chief Bako had taken land from poor farmers. He had lied to many families. He had stolen and cheated for years. The village elders were shocked. They had believed he was a great man. Now they saw the truth. Chief Bako was not a hero. He was a greedy, cruel man. It became clear that someone close to him wanted revenge. Someone had put the poison in his drink that night. Maybe it was one of his own workers. Maybe even one of his unhappy wives. No one knew for sure, but they all knew one thing. Amina was not to blame. She was innocent. She had been a victim too. The village elders gathered the people. They told them the truth. They warned them about trusting evil men, just because they had power. Amina stood silently among them, feeling the weight lift from her chest. For the first time in days, she took a deep, full breath. She was free. But the scars in her heart would take time to heal. The village was in shock. For years they had feared and respected Chief Bako. Now they saw who he really was. A selfish man, a liar, a thief. Some villagers cried out in anger. They felt fooled. They remembered how he took their land. They remembered how he punished those who spoke against him. Women gathered under the big tree. They whispered about Amina. Some felt sorry for her. Some blamed her at first. But the elders stopped them. The truth was clear now. Amina was not the enemy. Men met in the village square. They talked about what should happen next. They agreed they must change. No more forcing girls into marriage. No more selling daughters for cattle or gold. Old Mama Kuti, the oldest woman in the village, stood up. She said in a loud voice, "We have been blind. We let power rule us. We must protect our daughters now, not sell them." The villagers nodded. Shame filled their hearts, but also hope. Maybe this was the time for a new beginning. The chief's family tried to hide. They were afraid. Many people had suffered under Chief Bako's hand. Now those people wanted justice. But the elders calmed the crowd. They said anger must not destroy the village. Amina stayed inside her small hut. She heard the noise outside. She heard her name again and again. But this time they were not cursing her. They were praying for her. They were standing with her. The village had woken up from a long, dark sleep. A new day was coming. A day Amina never thought she would see. Days passed and the village slowly started to change. Amina no longer felt like a prisoner. The villagers saw her with new eyes. They saw the strength in her. They saw the pain she had carried for so long. Amina started helping others. She went to the women in the village and taught them. She showed them how to plant, how to sell crops, and how to take care of their families. She wasn't just the poor girl anymore. She became a leader. The elders asked Amina to speak at the village meetings. She shared her story, not just of pain, but of hope. She told the villagers how they must protect each other. She spoke of kindness and how the women were the heart of the village. Her voice was strong now. Some people still whispered about the past, but Amina didn't mind anymore. She had made peace with it. Her heart had healed. Soon Amina's reputation spread beyond the village. People from nearby towns came to hear her speak. They came to ask for her help. She began to work with other villages to create schools for girls. She showed them how to make their own choices. The freedom Amina had fought for was becoming real. She wasn't just a victim of her circumstances. She was a woman who had risen above them. One day, as Amina walked through the village, she saw a young girl carrying water. The girl smiled at her, and Amina smiled back. It was the same smile Amina had once given when she was just a child, before everything changed. But now it was a smile full of strength and promise. Amina had not just survived, she had transformed. She had built a new life, not just for herself, but for the whole village. Her story was no longer about sadness or pain. It was a story of power, hope, and change. Amina had become a symbol of the future, and that future was bright. As time went on, the village began to change in ways they had never imagined. Amina had taught them many things, but the most important lesson was not one she said in words. It was in the way she lived her life. Amina showed the villagers that no one should be forced to live in fear. No one should be sold or treated like property. She proved that even in the darkest times, there is hope. Even when the world seems unfair, a person can rise and make a difference. The villagers had always thought that power came from wealth and fear. But Amina showed them that true power comes from kindness, courage, and standing up for what is right. She taught them that women especially had power, not just in the home but in the heart of the village. It was a power they had forgotten for so long. Amina's story was a reminder to all. Never let the past define you. Never let anyone take away your voice, your dreams, or your freedom. The world might be hard, but there is always a way to change it, even if it starts with just one person. As Amina looked out over the village one last time, she realized something. She had not only changed her life, she had changed the lives of others too. And in the process she had found her true strength. It was in her heart. It was in the love she gave and the courage she shared. The lesson was simple but powerful. No matter how broken you may feel, you can always rebuild yourself. And when you rebuild, you help others rebuild too. In the end, Amina had become more than just a survivor. She had become a symbol of hope, strength, and transformation for everyone who had the courage to rise. As the sun set over the village, Amina stood on the hill, watching the people below. Her heart was full. She had never imagined her life would change so completely. From a girl forced into marriage to a woman who had changed the entire village. It was a journey she could never have predicted. The children played in the dirt, laughing. The women worked together, chatting and smiling. The men helped each other with their farms. Everyone was part of the change. Amina had shown them that working together made them stronger. The village was no longer just a place where people lived. It was a place of hope, of new beginnings. Amina had turned it into a community where love and kindness were the foundation. One evening, Amina walked through the village. A small girl ran up to her, holding out a flower she had picked. Amina smiled and knelt down to take the flower. "Thank you," Amina said softly. The little girl smiled back. "You're welcome, Amina. You made our village better." Amina felt a warmth inside her. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace. She had done something good. She had built a future where people were free to live their own lives. In the distance, Amina saw her old house. It was no longer just a reminder of her pain. Now it was a symbol of her strength. Her journey had turned the past into something that no longer controlled her. Amina knew that her life had a purpose, and it wasn't just to survive. It was to inspire others to never give to always rise again. As the stars filled the sky that night, Amina smiled. The village had healed. And so had she. The world was not perfect, but it was better because of her courage, and that was enough. The lesson was clear. Even in the darkest moments, there is light, and sometimes the hardest battles lead to the greatest victories. If you were inspired by Amina's journey, make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Join us as we continue sharing stories of strength, courage, and hope from across Africa. Thank you for watching, and remember, your story matters.